methods, maybe map, filter, reduce the basic ones, then we'd really appreciate. Thank you.
It's all right. It's all right. It's a very good observation. And thank you for being honest. I can see that Fatima is agreeing with you. All right. So, no problem. So, let's touch on that before we go ahead with the what we have for today. I'm even thinking, I don't know, it all depends on the community as a whole. I'm thinking if we could have one extra day for probably building up or building of projects. I don't really know. That's why I say it depends on a lot of things. Okay, Tech, please go on. Go on, sir. Okay, Tech.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
All right. So, you mentioned a day for building of projects. So, good morning, everyone. So, I think Saturday could be ideal. So, you could work with them during the dev hour. I noticed that most of the students don't even join in for the dev hour, and it's really not encouraging at all. So, Saturday, that dev hour section, we could dedicate it to building a project. I don't know if that's fine by you, sir.
Yes, it's very, very fine. Yeah, very, very fine. So
All
please,
right,
you
sir.
should spending dev hour is very important. All right, because like now, what we have today, we have to just cover it, and so that we'll not be lagging behind. All right. So quickly, let me not talk too much. Let's get to today's work. Where are we? We are okay. Yes. Okay. So let's do some things on what he said. Array functions. Mm. Or array methods instead. Let my run JS open. Sorry. Oh God. Why is this thing delaying? Okay. So please, you guys should keep on practicing. Just like I said, these things are not rocket science. They are not magic. It's something that to be good at it or to get good at it, you have to just keep on practicing and practicing and practicing and all of that. All right. This thing is not coming up. No problem. Before it comes up, let's. Mm, okay, it has come up. Thank God. So now let's look at. I will just touch on map, right? Map method. Then we'll move on. Probably on Saturday, I will try and come up with a project where we'll use at least up to 50% of those methods in a real project so that we'll see how it works. Now, all the array methods, as you all know, have their own targets, right? So, but there's a pattern to all of them. So, permit me to open the document and then show you the pattern. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Beautiful. This is it. So, there is a pattern to all of them. Now, look at apart from for each, because of course for each is used to iterate, which of course in place of for each you also have for in and for off. So now apart from for each, map, filter, reduce, find index, includes, every, and some. All of them, if you look at them, they have a particular pattern. What's the pattern? Now you call the functions, right? You call the functions on the array. Now, for this one you are seeing here, it simply means we have an array named fruit. And then we are calling the dot map function. And then every of these single methods you are seeing, what they accept as their parameter. We talked about parameter and argument, right? Now, what they accept as their parameter is actually a function. Now, in this case, we are making use of what? A closure. Some programming language call it closure, some call it anonymous function. You understand? Some call it callback function. You know, I told you once you make use of a function as, because here this is a function, but then we are feeding in the function as a parameter. So in that case, you can refer to the function as a callback function, because maybe once you start studying or in the process of studying, you might come across callback function. They are actually functions that use as parameters, function parameters and all of that. So if you look at filter, is the same thing. Reduce is the same thing. Look at it. So now yours is to know that, okay, this is actually the pattern. These methods are called on our array and they are being fed. What they are being fed is our anonymous function, which is our arrow function. Now, anything you are doing inside of the method or anything you are using this arrow function to achieve will be based on the function of this map. For instance, if we are to use map, what does map does? What map does is to take your old array, pick each element of the array, go over them one after the other, and then create a new array for you. That is just what map does. From the word map, you understand? So now let's say, for instance, what we want to do is to, let me open my code editor. What we want to do, let's say we have an array. First, let me just put it this way. We have an array and our array has just numbers. Let's say array of numbers. Yeah, let me just use numbers. So 8, 5, 12, 6. All right. And then what I want to do is to multiply all these arrays, right? I want to multiply all of them by 2. Now, this is where my map comes in. It does not mean it's only map I can use. No, I can use the normal this thing and do what I want to do. Normal loop, for in or for off, and do what I want to do, right? For instance, I can now come and say for let's say let a of array, all right? What do I want it to do? Return a multiplied by 2. Okay, let me see. Return outside a function. Okay, sorry, this is not a function. So a multiplied by 2. All right. Now, okay, let me do this. Console.log a. All right. Now, what this for a of r we do is to iterate, go over all the elements here of this array. So you can see 2, 8, 5, 12, 16. All right. But what I want to do now is that I want it to be multiplying each of these elements by 2. You can see that what this one is supposed to do is to multiply each of the elements by 2. But if you check, if I remove what we have here, all right, you find out that the only thing it multiplied by 2 was this last element here. That's why it's only returning 12. So if I change, let us confirm, if I change this 6 to 2, you see we are having 4. So it means it will keep on iterating. It's when it now gets to this last one, that's when it will now return the multiplication of the last one, which is 4. This is not what we want. So what we want is to multiply all the elements, all in all. So this is where our map method can now help us, right? So just like I say, is when you use these things that intuitively you begin to know when to use them and when not. In fact, there are instances where 2 different methods can give you the same answer depending on how you implement them. All right. So now we can now come and say, okay, because you know that map returns a new array. It doesn't modify your original array. It takes your original array, takes the element from your original array, creates a new array. So that's why I'm creating another variable, or call it new array. And then I'll call the map method on our original array. So I'll say our original array, which is arr.map. Now remember what I said. Map takes in a function. So before I even start anything, I'll first define my function. You know, this is how we define an arrow function. This one, the arrow, and then this curly bracket. Now, of course, the map needs something, because as it's iterating, it needs where to be storing each iteration. By the time it gets to this first one, it will say, the element here is 2. It needs something that will help it to store that 2 for that time being before it moves to the next one. So in that case, that's why we need to always supply it with a variable here. And I said this variable can be anything. But I always make use of lm. Why I don't like using e is because e mostly is used for error. ERR and ERR0R. So I prefer to use ELM, that's LM, to show that okay, it's actually an element of array. So this one will not be what will be holding each of these elements as this map method iterates. Now this is our function body. What did I want it to do? Of course, I want it to return what? Because this one will be the one to be holding each of the elements as our map method goes from one element to another. So what I want it is to multiply all of those elements by 2. All right. Now, let's confirm whether this one here is working. Now, it means that if this one should do what we want it to do, it's going to be stored here in our new array. So let's now console log our new array and see what we have. So we have new array. All right. Now you can see 2 here, 4 here, 8 here, 16 here, 5 here, 10 here, 12 here, 24 here, 2 here, 4 here. So that is what map method does for you. It makes sure it map the element. What you give it is what it will return. But then it will process it through the kind of function you give it. Now, if what I want is not to multiply by 2, but to add 2, it's just for me to come here and say element plus 2. And then it's going to add 2 to all of them. And from what I told you, if you are having just a single line, you don't need this curly bracket. All right. And you don't also need your return statement. The arrow will do that for you. And you still end up having the same thing. So, any question on this? Just like I said, I won't cover the rest. But on Saturday, God's willing, we'll work on a project where we'll implement all like the methods, and we'll look at each and every method and see the reason why we are making use of them, and to check if there's any alternative to those methods and all of that. So is that okay by you guys? All right, all right. So but at least what we did now, you understand. So this function I passed through map is not limited to what we just did now. The main goal is that map methods help you map each element and then return a new array for you. So let's see what we have for today. All right. All right. So today we'll be looking at advanced ES6 features. All right. And then these features, we have object, we have destructuring, we have spread operators, rest operators, modules, and classes. Okay. So now let's look at objects in JavaScript. I think we've talked a little bit about this then. You know, that time where we were talking about error or something like that, right? Where I said they were logging error.message, where I now showed you guys how that error is actually an object by himself, and then error.message is like you trying to access a property of the error. So object in JavaScript. In JavaScript, an object is a collection of key value pairs where keys are strings or symbols, and values can be any data type, including other object functions, arrays, primitive types, and the rest. So now, unlike arrays, unlike other data type, object data type is a type that has both a key and a value, right? It's more like the way you declare your variable. But this time around, you know, your variable, you have to use either let or const, then an equal to assign a value to the variable. But this one now, you are not using any let or const for the properties itself. For the object itself, you're actually declaring using let or const, right? But for the properties, because as you can see here, everything here is our object. This user is the object name. Let user. This name and age you are seeing inside of our user object is called the object property. This one by the left itself is called the key, whereas the one by the right immediately after the column is called the value. So these are the most important things when it comes to object. Everything totality is your object. You have your object name, you have your object property. Object property is just simply your object name and value. Then you have your object key, sorry, they call it key, not name, key and value. So you have your key and then you have your value. So key and value equal to property. So put that at the back of your mind. So when you hear they talk about object property, they're actually talking about the key and the value of the object. All right. So now, why must they bring issue of object into programming? Now, if you look at this world, the way this world is, almost everything is an object. All right. Almost everything is an object. What does it mean to be an object? It means everything is a kind of something. You understand? Jethro is a person. David is a person. Fatima is a person. Reuben is a person. You understand? So we can now say a person is an object. Now we can now go further and say, Reuben is a kind of a person that is a male. Fatima is a kind of a person that is a female. We can now look further and say, which property does Reuben have? Reuben has eyes. He has nose. He has mouth. Jethro too has eyes. He has nose. He has mouth. Same thing with David and same thing with Fatima. All right. There are some things that, okay, Fatima might have, David might now have. For instance, you can say Fatima has a long hair. All right. But David does not have a long hair. Do you guys get it? So object is like mimicking of real life scenario, because if you are programming an application, definitely everything you'll be dealing with, we have to deal with something that is existing in the world. For instance, you want to build an application for a school, you will consider the teachers, that's the staffs, you consider the students, all those ones are people. You understand? So that is where object comes in. That is the gap that object comes in to cover, right? Okay. So instead of having just let name, let age, now you are now putting it inside of an object, and then you can now use that object to create many people. For instance, now in a school, as a student, what they need is they need your name, they need your age. For instance, so I know they might need more things, but at least basically they need your name, they need your age, right? And then class. Now every single student in a school must have these three things. So instead of we can just create a single blueprint that will help us to create multiple of that thing, and that's what they call instance. If you heard of instance, right? So we are building multiple of that thing. If you ask student A, you have a name, an age, and a class. You ask student B, the same. You ask student C, the same. So that is where object comes in. And object is not only found in JavaScript. It's found in Python. It's found in Java. It's found in C++. You understand? So let's continue. Please, if you have a question, you can actually let me know. All right, you can let me know. So how do we even create an object? Let me just follow our document. Let me not be too fast. So assessing object properties. Okay, let's even see okay, no problem. So how do we even create an object? Just like I've said, you use your let or const, anyone you want to use. Yes, so your let or const. Now the name of the property, let's say we want to create student. Now object called student. Now we now have student. Of course, let me use small letter, but you can use capital letter if you want. Student, and then I'm using my curly bracket. All right. Of course, a student will have a name. Let's say in this case, our student is J True. All right. And then you use comma to separate properties. You know, this is a property. Remember, key plus value, everything together gives you a property. This in itself is a key. This in itself is a value. And looking at this value, it simply shows that this is a string, because you can see it's in between this double quote. So we can now say age. Okay. So age now, we can say maybe 93. Of course, this is a number. All right. So here we are having this how you create. This is one way of creating an object. All right. Let student, you have the property, you have another property. You can define as many properties as you want. We can even decide to check is alu alumina, how did they even mention it? We can say false. So this one will just simply show whether he has graduated or not. You understand? Or instead of this, we'll just put has graduated. All right. So has graduated false. Right? How would J2 have graduated now? Would have put true, or let's put true. Right? So this true shows that yes, he was a student, but he has actually graduated. All right, and all of that. So this is how you create an object. Now let's go back to our document and see. I want to make sure. Good. So you can see assessing object properties. All right. So there are different ways of. Okay, I think there's a mistake here in the heading. There's a mistake. That's serious. So there's a mistake here. Okay, no problem. I'll correct it and then let you guys know. There's a mistake. So these are supposed to be creating object property, not actually assessing. The assessing is supposed to come next. I don't know how manage. I'm seeing this error now. Okay. So now this is the way you actually create an object. This is what we just did now. This is the simplest way. In fact, it's the most popular, the simplest and the most popular way of creating an object.
Yes, sir.
There's another way of creating an object
Yes,
called,
sir.
okay, you have a question?
Eh, It's not really a question.
Okay,
Like in your own JS, why doing this thing?
yes.
You didn't put the sign is equals to. Like, is this something you can do
Okay.
without putting it?
Thank you. It's a mistake from our end. Thank you. All right. Thank you for that. So you can use object literal syntax, just like what we did here. Yeah, object literal syntax. And then, okay. And then you can also use another, and they call it new object. All right. And then this new object, let's say we want to create a person. We can just say let person is equal to, we'll say new. You always use the word new. All right. And then object. As you can see it here, new, then object. But in this case, it will always create an empty object for you. So after you must have created it, you have to now come and fill in whatsoever property you want this particular object person to have. You come and fill it. All right. But for now, let's just leave it like this. This is another way. This one creates an empty object. This one too, you can use this one to create an empty object too, just like this. To create an empty object with this, it's just for you to say, let's say, let equal to, and then you just do this. So this one too, we create an empty object for you. So this is like an equivalent of this. All right, but they are the same thing. So another way is using constructor function. Now we'll do this later on because we'll talk about constructor function. So I don't want to say anything about it so as not to confuse us. Classes too is part of what we are going to do. So look at it, classes. So I don't want, let's not get into it now. You understand? So next, we are supposed to look at assessing the properties of an object. Just like I said, there's a mix up somewhere. All right. So that's why for now. So I'll just be teaching you Normal. So how do we assess the properties of an object? Now, to assess the property of an object, we have done that before. It's always the name of your object. Now, what is the name of this object? Obviously, the name of the object here is student. So we have the name of the object dot the property. Now, how many properties does this object have? Somebody should help us. How many properties? We have object student, but how many properties does object student has? I'm waiting. Oh,
Three
I
of
think three.
good. So what are the three?
And the
name,
name,
age.
age, and as graduated with
Beautiful.
the jet.
Beautiful. So now it has three properties. This property here, named Jethro, this property here, age 93, and this property here has graduated. So if we want to assess this particular property, the value, because the value, that's what is most important. It's just for us to call the key, the name of the object dot the key. Once we do that, it's going to give us the value of that our property. That's why here you can see we are having Jethro. This is one way of assessing the property of an object. Another way is by the same thing, the name of your object, then inside your square bracket, all right, the key. Now the key, you are putting it inside a string. If you don't put it inside a string, it will not work. For instance, let's say we want to access the age. If I just come here and put age, right, it's going to throw an error. So we have to put it inside of a string. So that's why if you come back here, right, there was one place here where they were talking about, they say an object is a collection of key value pairs where keys are strings. Are you seeing it? So even though here we are not actually defining our keys using string like this, as you can see, all right, even though we are not defining them, although you can still do that, it will still work. But even though we are not defining them with string to show that they are string, just know that automatically JavaScript considers all keys, anything you are using as your key in your object, it considers them as a string. So if you are using this method, you have to enter them as a string, or else it will not work. But if you are using this method, then you are free to just use your dot. They call it dot notation. Just your dot to access it. So these are the two ways of assessing the properties of your object. So who can help us? I want to assess my has graduate. How can I do that? How can I assess has graduated?
You can either use the student that has graduated, or you can use has
Good,
graduated, then put
good,
the square bracket.
good. So either we use this, the dot own, or we use this, the bracket. All right. So put that at the back of your mind. These are the two ways used in assessing an object. So let's check. If there's any question, please, you can always call my attention to it. All right. So properties and methods. Properties are the values associated with an object. We have talked about this already. Like this is a property, this is a property, this is a property. All right. So okay, this can be of any data type: string, numbers, other objects, functions. Methods are functions stored as properties. Are we seeing it? They define behavior for the object. Okay, let's calm down. Let's calm down. You know, they say kulu, 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 temper. So let's calm down first and look at. So it means that what we have here is a property. What we have here is a property. What we have here is a property. Now, if we now decide to do this, let's say greet, right? Greet. And then we have this, something like this. Okay. Now, who can tell me what is the difference between what we have here and what we have had here. So who can tell me?
Let me try.
I
I
think
think okay. Rufa, just speak.
Okay, Rufai, go on. Jetro has given you the floor.
I think we declared a function inside our property.
Beautiful. So now what this thing is trying to say between properties and method, this one is also a property, because you know property, they say, is always key and then your value. But in a situation where your value is a function, it's no longer a property, it's now called a method. So that is just what they are saying here. That's why you can see here, this is, of course, these are object name, these object properties, these two, of course, they have the key and the value, as you can see. But now this key is having a value, and the value is actually a function. So in this case, what we have here is no longer an object property, but actually an object method. So put this at the back of your mind. Now, let me ask a question. How do we now call this particular method? How do we call it? If I want to call it now, how can I call it?
You
Can somebody
can,
try?
since it's a function, you can call it by its function name,
Okay. So
greet,
it means we have student dot
student,
greet, right?
and yeah, then the function.
Okay, good. Now you can see when I just used student dot greet, you can see what is displaying for me is displaying an F and then greeting. It's trying to tell me that this value, right? The value of this key is actually a function. So I'm not calling the function yet. For me to call the function, I have to bring in this my double bracket. So it's when I bring in this double bracket that I'm now calling the function that is stored inside the greet. And then that's when I'm now going to see what is printed inside of the function, which in this case is called good morning. All right. Now, let me ask a question. We have this. There's what they call the this keyword, because I don't think I covered it as one single this thing. So let me just cover it now. Let me do justice to it now. Now, if you look at what they had here, of course, we all know that this is a string literal. Let me zoom this thing. We all know that this is a string literal. You can see between hello. So now, what is happening here is that they are trying to call on what we have here. But my question is, why is it that they have to use this? Why didn't they just go ahead and use name? Because all of them are here now. All of them are all here. So why is it that in calling this name here, they have to now use this dot name instead of just name? So let's try it out. Now, I want to call this name. I want to say, hello, good morning. My name is Jetro. All right. Now, I'll come here. Of course, let me change it to string literal. So, good morning. All right. Good morning. My name is, of course, our dollar and our curly bracket, and then name. Now, what are we supposed to have here? Like normally on a normal grant, what we used to do now, that we just come and say, we can say, let name equal to, we say, Rufai, right? And then we now come and say console.log using string literal. We now say good morning. Good morning. My name is, and then we'll say this dollar, and then we'll now bring in name here, right? Now, this one worked. What we are expecting here is our name. And what is the value of our name? Rufai. And obviously, that was what happened here. Good morning. My name is Rufai. Since it's working here, right? It worked here. Then why is it that here we are trying the same thing? But look at here. Where is it, sef? Hope I've removed this. Okay. The thing is working now. Ha. Okay, yeah. Look at, it's not working. Sorry, I say it's working. It's actually not working because look at the name we have here is Jethro. Look at it. But here it's showing us Rufai. Why? Because we declared a variable called name that is Rufai. So why is it that this one is not working? What is happening? What is happening? Thought this thing I've already stored Rufai name as name. He doesn't want to go again. So why is it that it's what we put outside that the thing is now picking? It's refusing to pick what is inside here. Because let me change this name now. Let me declare another name outside. Let me select name. And then this time around, let me name it Fatima. All right. And then let's see. You see, it means it's picking it from
Sir,
outside. But
sir, can I
okay.
attempt? Now,
Okay, please
from
attempt. Go on.
okay, I just understood. Maybe it's taking cognizance of global and local variable.
Okay. Okay.
Because
It
yes, this one is the name now is outside of the code block. So
okay.
if we want maybe for us to call it, we need
Yeah.
this keyword now will help us to declare the name
Okay.
inside. I don't know how to.
Okay. Okay. Well done. You tried. So I think I did not talk about local and global variable. All right. But although we're supposed to talk about it, yeah, unfortunately. So now, if we're talking about local and global variable, let's say for instance, I can have something like this. Let count be 2. I can now come and say function add. All right. Then inside this function, I'll now say let count be 5. So here I'll say console.log count. All right. Then outside of this function, I'll now say console.log count. Now, what are we having here? Of course, I've not called this function. So let me now call this function and then let's see. So I'm going to call the function here. So I'll put add. Okay. So what is it showing up? Good. So let me ask a question. We have count here that is outside of this function, isn't it? But now, we now create another count inside of this function. So what this one is, this is a global variable. A global variable is a variable that can be accessed by anything and is usually found at the normal scope of your code. While local variable is what is found inside a block. So far you are having a block of code. Anything inside is actually a local variable. So this count now can only be accessed by what is inside here. But this count can be accessed by anything. Now you can see when I was console logging count from my function, it was making use of this one and not this one. So it means local variable will come first if you are coding before even global variable. Now, I wish, right, there's nothing here. I wish we don't have count in our local variable, right? This function will automatically pick up the one from our global variable. But because we are now having, look at it, that's why here it's showing us 2. But immediately we now give it that same variable, define it inside of this our scope. That's what it's going to be using. It will not use this one outside of it. So unlike what we have here, because if this behavior is consistent, that means by doing this one here, this function should grab this name first before even thinking of grabbing what is outside. Because if you look at it, they are in the same scope. But now, unfortunately, that is the behavior of objects. So that is where this keyword comes in. And why they did it that way is so that you will not be limited in what you are doing, because there's every probability that I'm divining something inside. Let's say let's h, or let pi, all right, equal to 3.142, right? And let's say I want to create a function that a property, a method, right, that when I call it, it will help me calculate the area of a cycle. We all know the area of a cycle is pi r square, all right? So I can come here and then I will say area cycle. This is a key, and then I want a function that will calculate area of cycle, isn't it? Now I can now say, okay, let's say here, of course, every cycle should have its radius. All right. So let me say the radius of this cycle is 7. Just an assumption, isn't it? So now I can now say console.log area of cycle, right, is equal to, of course, my dollar and this. And then here I will now say, of course, it's pi r square now. So my pi times what? R square. That's radius. Of course, look at my radius here, right? Times another radius, because r square, that's multiplying radius 2 times, right? So what do we have? I hope I've not. Okay, yes, this is it. So now, if, sorry, this should be comma, not it should be comma. So if I want to call this function, this one now, area cycle, right? So I'll call the name of my object first, because it's contained inside my object. So I have student dot area cycle, all right, and this. Now you can see what it's trying to tell me. Radius is not defined. So why the behavior, why object is like this, is they also give you the liberty to work with other variables that might be outside of your object. So if peradventure I come here and I declare a radius outside of my object, let's say this radius I say is 3, right? Now it's going to use the radius that is here outside of this object. That's what it's going to use. You get? So that is why they had to now, is for flexibility's sake. So in a situation where what I really want to use is what is inside of my object and not what is outside, that is where this now comes in. So by the time I do this dot name, I'm telling it that use the name that is inside of the object. Don't go outside. Use the property, the name property that's inside of the object. And that's why now if you come back here, you see that it's not telling us good morning, my name is Jethro. Because why? Inside of the object, the name is Jethro. But immediately we remove this, you will go and look for a name outside of the object, which in this case, we say the name here is what? Fatima. And here you can see, good morning, my name is Fatima. So the same thing with this radius. What if the radius I want to use is the one inside of the object? It means this one is going to be this dot radius, this dot radius. So in that case now, what I'm going to have is, what is going to make use of is this particular radius here. So any question? So is there any question on using the this keyword?
So, sir, in a nutshell, what you are trying to say is that the this keyword now calls the value of
Yes.
a property within an
Yes.
object.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So hope we all get it. All right. So let's So let's go to the next one. So that's on properties and methods. Now let's go to the next one. So just like how we have array methods, right? We also have object methods. and you can see the object methods here. That does not mean these are all the objects, the methods of an object. There can be more, but just that these are the basic ones. So the first one we have here is object.keys. And what does it do? It returns an array of a given object property names. So now remember, keys, values, so that you know, so that you will not be confused. Keys, values, entries. Now coming back to this, let's create an object. Let's say which one should we use now? Okay, let's use student. Let's student equal to, and then we have name, of course. Which person? Okay, Ruben, right? And then age, let's say 88, and then let's say is which one should I even use? Oh, okay, is good. So I'll put, let's say, true, and let's say class, right? Let's say 400 level, yeah. So let's say 400 level, or instead level instead of class. So let's say level, right? And then let's say the last one, let's say email, right? So say Ruben at student dot fitech.com. All right. So Ruben is now the first person that has fitech logo email. So congratulations, Ruben. All right. So now let's look at what we have here. If you look at the first method, it says that one, what it's going to do is it will return all the keys of the object, and that's why they even name it object.keys. Look at it, object.keys. So now if we do it, since it's returning an array, it means we can store what is returning inside a variable. So we can now say we can create a variable called keys, const keys. Of course, we want to get the keys from student, and then we'll now say object dot what, keys, and then here we'll now pass in our object. Now what is our object? Student. So we'll pass in student. All right. Now it means that this method object.keys will take in a parameter, which the parameter should be the object whose keys you want to get, and then this is expected to return an array. And so since we are storing it inside of a variable keys, it means the keys now will now contain all the keys. The variable keys will contain all the keys of our student object. So now let's now console.log the keys and see. So console.log keys. So are we seeing it? We have key called name, age is good, level, email. So can we see it? Now the next one is values. So in a situation where it's not the keys we want, it's the values that we want, it's just for us to simply come and then we say console, const value equal to, we say object dot value, and then we'll pass in the name of our object. All right. So based on what this method is doing, is going to take in our object student and return an array of the values. So what should be expecting value to be? It should be an array of Ruben 88 through 400 and then Ruben's email. So here we are now going to have console.log, console.log value. And then what do you see? You can see Ruben 88 through 400 and then Ruben's email. So that is what object of values does. Now we have object dot entries. Now what object dot entries does is to put in an array both the keys and the values, right? So let's go back and then let's try that. Now we are going to have console.log, right? I say console.log const properties, because all the properties it will give us array of keys or values of keys and values, right? So now we have object dot entries, and then we'll pass in the name of our object, student, right? Now we'll now console.log the properties. Now what do you see? You can see that he's now printing out, look at it, name Ruben, key value, age 88, key value, is good, true, key value, level 400, key value, email, and then this key value. So you can see it. So keys, values, entries. Take note of that. Now next we have object.assign. So look at what it does. It says copies properties from one or more sources object to a target object. Are you seeing it? So what does this mean? It simply means we can use this particular method to move or to copy objects from one, to copy properties of one object into another object. All right. So how can we do that? Let's look at, let me come back here and then let me say, okay, let me just undo this. Already we have this object. All right. So let's create another object and say, let head boy, hair. No, since is university, it's not head boy, it's class rep. So let's say class rep. Now I want to create a class rep object, right? And in this case, Ruben has actually become the class rep, right? And then, okay, let me say the only thing inside of this class rep is, let's say is class rep equal to, not equal to, sorry. So we say true. So of course, for everybody that is class rep, this class rep object will always have a property called is class rep to be true. Now, instead of, let's say, based on what we want now, is want to create another object for class rep, and Ruben is now our class rep. Now, instead of coming here to now use hand to copy everything here and come here to paste it, we can just make use of what we have here, this one, to do the copying for us, the target, the source. And how do we do that? Object.assign your target. So your target is actually where you are copying it to, and then your source is actually where you are getting what you are copying. So in these two cases, who can tell me, inside of these two objects, which one is the target and which one is the source? Can somebody help me?
I think the target is the class rep and the source is the student.
Beautiful.
No. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Right? So because our goal is to copy all the properties in student to class rep, because the same student here, which is Ruben, is now our class rep. All right. So this becomes the target, and this becomes the source. So here now we'll come here, and then according to this thing, does it return anything? Does it says the copy is from one? Okay, actually it should not return because it's actually copying. So now we can now say object dot assign, right? And then it say first it will take the target. What is our target? Class rep, comma, and then next is going to take what? Our student. Now there's something they did here which we'll still look into, right? Which is this, the structuring. But I don't know, should I just do it now or should I leave it? Okay, no problem. So we are here. Okay, so now looking at what we have here, of course, if we say student like this, is it going to work? Hmm? Let's say we say student like this. Look at it. Look at what we did here. All right. Now, let's confirm what we have done. Let me remove all this code. Let's confirm if what we have done is has actually worked. And how can we confirm that? Let's console.log our class rep. So, did it work? Sorry, let me use this thing so that we'll be sure that class rep. All right. So did it work? Beautiful. So you can see now our class rep, look at it here. Our new class rep now is having not just this parameter, that's the original parameter that is there, but it has successfully copied everything from what we have here. It has copied it into the class rep object. So that is what your assign does. So take note of that. Now the next one we have is object.freeze. So what does it do? Prevent any changes to the object properties. So in a situation where you have worked on an object and you don't want anybody.
Sir,
Okay,
please, I have a question.
okay, please go on.
Please, yes, can you go back to your codes, like
Okay, look
the
at it.
example? Yes. Now, this let's class rep, we are trying to create a new object and then use this method to
Yes,
copy what is in the source. Now, for
yes,
example, can you assign another property inside, and like apart from the name, age is good, level, email, maybe in the let class rep, maybe you want to put um hobbies,
yes,
for example. So now if you put hobbies, can
yes,
you, when you still target it by using
yes,
the assign, will
yes.
hobby be included in the new this thing?
Class rep,
You,
right?
yes.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
let's even try it. So let's say now Ruben's hobby is football. All right. Now, now let's go back to class rep. Did you now see hobby included?
Yes, I mean in the class rep, declare the hobby, not on the
Okay,
student.
declare it here.
Yes.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let me remove it here. All right. And then here I'm going to declare hobby. So here I will say maybe basketball. All right. Now look at our class rep class. You can see hobby here.
Yeah.
You understand?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it
So
it automatically replicates what is in one to the other, like
exactly.
totally. Okay.
Totally. Totally.
Okay.
So in fact, I was even thinking here because that was why I was looking at destructuring. I was even thinking we had to destructure it, although we still come to destructuring for it to work. When I realized that we don't need to do that by itself, it does that. That's the assign function by itself does that. All right. So let's go on. Now, this object of freeze, all right. Once you use freeze method, it means you don't want anybody to be able to change anything. So if paraventure, what we have here, let's say after creating this, we now freeze it. We now say, we don't want anybody to come and tamper with class rep here too. Let's say like this one is false. We have not gotten a class rep yet. Let's say this one is not there because since we have not gotten the class rep, we can't even know what is his hobby. So let's say class rep is false. We have not even voted for class rep. We have not assigned any class rep yet. You understand? And then since there's no class rep yet, we don't want anybody to come and mistakenly assign any student as class rep since we have not yet elected a class rep. We cannot just come here and say, I beg go freeze this thing. Make person no go carry person wey no be class rep put in name student, right? And then once you freeze it, I hope I'm calling the right name. Okay, object of freeze. Okay, now once you freeze it, which is here, let me remove this one, not remove per se, uncomment it. So we have frozen. Where's this one coming from? Am I printing anything? Okay, sorry, it's not student I'm supposed to freeze. It's class rep I'm supposed to freeze. I don't want there to make any change to class rep. So now I've freezed class rep, right? Now let's say now somebody now comes and say, forget these people. Make I just add Ruben and my paddy, make I just add them. Anyhow. You understand? The person now come and say, okay, he wants to now assign class rep to Ruben, right? Now, normally what this is supposed to do is to copy everything here for Ruben, right? And come here and paste it. You understand? But now you can see what is happening now. I've freeze it here because I've frozen it here. I've frozen class rep. You can see that it's not even working. It say cannot add property name. Object is not extensible. So if you see when and anytime they talk about extensibility or extensible in programming, it simply means it cannot be modified. That's just simply what it means. You understand? So cannot add or modify. Object cannot be modified. So that's where you can see your freeze. Immediately I remove this one now. Automatically, this one assign is going to work. Assign will be able to modify this our class rep. So any question on that? Then we also have object.seal. So it says prevent adding or removing properties, but allows modification of existing ones. Are you seeing it? So whereas this one stops you from adding and modifying, this one does not stop you from modifying, but it stops you from adding. So if I come here and I put, instead of freeze, I use seal, right? It means, look at, I cannot add. That's why I see here, nothing is happening. I cannot add here because look at everything that is here so far, right? Nothing, like everything here, you can't find it here. So what we are technically doing here now is to add. But for this one now, we can actually modify this. Now how? We can just come here, even after sealing it, we can say object or class rep. The name of our object is class rep, right? Class rep dot. Now, want to change this property. You know how to access property now, either the dot or the other way. So this is our object, class rep, and then want to change this particular property. So we'll call class rep dot is class rep, and then instead of false here, we want to change it to true. So you can see now, then we can now check. Let's now check console.log. Let's check our class, our object, right? So let me see, where is this thing? Okay, let me remove this one because this one is throwing an error. You know JavaScript now, or let's take it to the top so that it will run before the error. If not, it will not work. So you can see this one, we are now able to change the value of the existing value of his class rep from false here to true here. So that is what your seal does. Any property that was there already before the sealing can be modified, but a new property cannot actually be added. So that is seal for you. So key.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, please go on.
Can you please quickly go over on this thing object.seal again?
Okay, so object.seal, right? Let me remove all these ones. What object.seal does is to stop anyone from adding anything new, but he can actually change whatsoever thing that has been there already. Now let's add maybe age here, just for sake of trying. All right, let's add age here. Let's say maybe the class rep must be 25 years old, so we'll have age there as our class rep. Now Upon sealing it, right, I can come here, I can say I want to now add this thing, I want to add something, a key and value to class rep. I can come and say, okay, class rep, right, dot, let's say we want to add a name, dot name equal to maybe JavaScript. This is another way of adding an object, actually. You understand? It's another way of adding, of assessing. What we just need to do, just call it like this. But once you now make it to be equal to, you're actually adding or making changes to it. So now, as it is now, all right, let's now print out this class rep and see if this one actually added the property name to this our class rep object. So we'll console dot log class rep. Now, can you see, was he able to add what is here? You can see that it was not able to, right? You can see we are still having class rep false and age 25. But if we would have removed this one, right, you could have seen that it has added name to it. Because why? We have removed the seal. But so far the seal is there, there's no way you will be able to add anything. But for anything that is existing, for instance, his class rep is already there, age is already there. So we can actually make changes to any of these. So we can come here and then we'll say class rep dot, already we have his class rep, we have age. So we can change age to maybe 20, right? And then we can even change class rep dot, we can change his class rep to true. So coming here, you will now see that by printing out class rep here, that's after making the changes, you can see that where is it? His class rep has now become true. Age is now 20. So that is the function of your seal. It stops you from adding, but does not stop you from modifying. So does that answer your question? Or are you okay with that? Okay. So let's move quickly. So looping through object. All right. So
I think
JavaScript.
Fatima wants to talk.
Fatima,
Okay. Please go on, Fatima. Go on. Or was it a mistake? Fatima, I can continue. Fatima.
I think it's a mistake. Maybe
Okay. No problem. All right. Let's go on. So any questions so far?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can hear you now.
Sorry, I was having a network issue. So my question is, we have two different objects, right?
Yes.
Let's say in the first object, that's the student, we have name already there. Then in the
Yes.
class rep objects, what if we put another name in it? What will happen with the same variable name?
Okay. So let's try it and see. I like to try. All right. So now let's try it and see. Let's use the other method, our replace method, right? I say replace, that's the copy method. So what is that method called for the copy method? Assign, Abim. So
Assign.
beautiful. So assign, then our target is class rep. Then our source is student. Now, which name do we have here? Fatima.
Sorry, I'm coming. Let me rejoin the call.
Okay, no problem. So she actually asked a valid question. All right, that what if you are having the same variable name on both of the objects, name, all right? What is going to happen? Now, what is going to happen is that you are carrying out a copy operation. And how copy works, even on your phone, you know how copy and paste works. What you are bringing in will always overshadow what was there already. So in this class rep, what is here already in my class rep under name is Fatima. But then we are copying everything here. So since we are copying everything here, if we have the same key, name, the copy operation will make sure as this one is coming in, is the value of what you are bringing in. That's what will now replace the original value that was there. So that's why here, upon printing it, because look at it, after assigning it, right? Upon printing it, you see that the name has now been replaced by this. You see, even the age, are you seeing it? You know, this one is 88. Why this one is 25? You see, the age too, the same thing has been replaced. All right. So, Fatima, you are welcome. Are you there? All right. I think we can go on. Yeah. At least I've addressed that. Whew. All right. So let's look at looping through objects. So there are several ways of looping through an object. You can use for in loop. I think we talked about for in and for off on Tuesday. So for in now, you can use it to iterate over you can use it to get the keys of the object, and as well you can also use it to get the value if you so want to. And then you also have object.keys. Then for each, that one too, you can use it to get the keys, and also you get it's the same thing. It's practically the same thing. They do the same thing. It's not as if one is special or faster than the other. So if we are to try that of for in, we'll just come here. Now I'll just clear this what we have here. So this is our object, and then to iterate over it, we'll say for let s, and let me use s in then the name of your object, student. All right. Now, just like I said, what you have here is the variable that will be, as this iteration is going on, this is what will be temporarily storing each of your property one after the other as the iteration goes on. So what we want it to do is to console.log s. That's the variable holding them. Now you can see what we have. Name, age, is good, level, email. Now, of course, we have gotten our keys. How can we get our variable? Do you remember when we started? Do you remember what we did when we started? Permit me. Let me see. If this one is empty. It's not. This one too. Okay, let me just create another one. I hope this is empty. Why am I having plenty astro time here? Okay. So do you remember when we started? There was something we did where we said you can access an object using two ways, the value of an object. If like we have const, let's say we have this, all right, and we say name, say the name is 3, all right, we say number 3, we say is even, say false, because 3 is not an even number. All right. So let's just stop here. Now remember, we said there are two ways of accessing each property of an object. Either we use the dot notation, all right, or we use the what? The bracket notation. Now, this one is the only way we can actually use to get the value of each of these keys. Because the only way these keys are coming in, they are coming in as a string. They are not coming in as they are like this. Because if you look at this one now, right, this one that we just looked at, if I mistakenly add string to this name, let's see whether it's going to work. You can see that our dot notation can never work with anything that is literally inside a quotation. It has to be just as it is without quotation. But what this thing is giving us now, what this one is giving us all the keys, but all of them in quotation. So if we want to get the values of each of these one, if we come and say, and the value is supposed to be console.log, it's supposed to be s s is the this thing, but it's supposed to be the object name, which is student.s. You can see, look at, it's just returning undefined. You understand? So the only way we can get the value of each of these keys is to go by the order convention, which is what we call our object name. Inside the bracket, we pass in our s, because our s is coming as the keys inside what? A quotation. So that's why here you can see as it prints s, which is name. What is the value of name, which will be the next thing to print, is Ruben. H, the value of H, 88, is good. Or let's even do it everything together so that I will not be confused. So let me take this one here, comma, and add it here. And then let me remove this one. So you can see name Ruben, age 88, is good, true, level 400, email, and then we have the email address here. All right. So any question? So this is how you can access or loop through your keys and your values. So if you don't want the keys, you can just exclude this one and just make use of the values. If you don't want the values, then you just need to exclude this one and then make use of your value. So that's how you iterate through values of an object. So this one also works the same way. You understand? It works on the same way. It's just that this one makes use of the keys, and then it makes this a chain, is a chaining of functions together. This dot keys, do you remember dot keys? This one here. So this one we have to get the keys, and then this for each, we have to go through each of the key one after the other. And as he's going through them, is inserting them inside the object to get the this thing. What are they calling it? To get the value of the keys. So either you go with this. Me, I feel this one is much more easier and even better than what we have here. So, but we can still try this one and see. So in this case now, of course, we'll have our standard object dot our keys, and then the keys now, of course, we can give it anything if we want. Let's just say I will name it std, or std will look like standard, so I'll name it st, like student. Then dot, I'm now chaining it with the for each. Is it for each now? Yeah, for each method. And then of course the for each method we take in a what? Who can remember? What does it take in? The for each method. We did for each yesterday. Go on, Jethro. It's as if you want to say something.
Okay, it will take in is it parameter, like what do we call it?
Good. It will take in an arrow function.
Arrow
As a
function that
parameter.
has, right? Yeah.
Beautiful. So now here, I say here you have to pass in a what? A variable. It is anything. Me, I just like using lm to tell me that it's actually an element, because hope we all know what this one is going to do. This one is going to create an array, and for each is an array method. We did array methods on Tuesday, so that's why we are even able to chain this for each with what we have here, because what this one will create is an array. Remember, we did it here. In fact, we can even do it here too. We can even redo it so that we understand. You know, this programming sometimes you have to do and do and do until you get it right. All right. So we can even try it here. Dot keys, and then what's the name of our this thing? Object is student. All right. So you can see here what this one will do. Object dot keys and name of your object. What it to do is to convert everything to an array, which is what we have here. So, and for each is a method used to iterate, loop through an array. So this one now, object dot keys, the name of our object, student, then dot for each lm. Now what is here will now be a variable that will temporarily hold each and every one of these values as this for each keeps iterating, going from one element to another. So here I'll just name it the stu, right? That's student, or st instead. And then what do I want it to do? I want it to console.log the keys and the value. Of course, the keys will definitely be the st itself. But the values now, remember, will be the name of our object and then inside the st. Because to get the value, you need the keys. And st is representation of the keys. Each and every one of the key, one after the other. While passing it into our object will give us the value of the object. And that's why here you have name, Ruben, age, 88, is good through level 400, email, and then, of course, what we have here. So, any question with this? We have not even gone far. Page 9 and 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes gone already. All right. So now the next we'll be looking at the structuring in JavaScript. So the structure is a convenient way to unpack values from arrays or properties from objects directly into distinct variables. So all this plenty story you are seeing, what it simply means, right? I'll just do everything together. I'll not do them one after the other. All right. Of course, one after the other, but not using this one because if not, well, we don't go finish today. So now for array destructuring, I'll come back to my code. I'll declare an array. So let's say let's fruit equal to we have orange, we have apple, we have banana, we have we have fogadro. No, is sugarcane a fruit or a food?
It's fruit.
It's fruit, ba? Okay, that means I'm not wrong. So now, what this destructuring is saying, all right, is that I can actually pull out each of these values if I want to. So, and then give them a unique name. So I can decide to say, let, and then if I'm pulling out, if I'm destructuring it, all right, I have to bring in, if it's an array I'm destructuring, I have to do it, bring in an array symbol. And then I can say, I want to pull off orange. And orange, I'll give it the value of A. I want to pull out apple and give it the value of B. You can give it anything you want to. I want to pull out banana and give it a variable of C. And then I want to pull out sugarcane and give it variable of D. Now, I will now put it to be equal to the name of my array itself. So here will now be fruit. So now let's check. Let's say if anytime I want to make use of sugarcane, I don't need to be looking for how to loop or slice. Already have destructured it here. What it means by destructuring, I'm able to pull it out, like remove everything and just make it to be plain variable. So sugarcane now, anytime I call D, what I should be expecting is sugarcane. Now let's try it. Console.log D. Now what do we have? We have sugarcane. If I want to call apple, of course, look at it. I've destructured it that apple is going to be B. So it's just for me to come here and say console.log B. And then what I have will be apple. So there are instances where what I need from my array is just one particular thing. I don't need the rest. So if peradventure, what I need is just A here that I need, what I'm going to do is that I will just remove these ones. I'll make sure I have the same this thing number of comma. Let me remove these two to not cause issue for us. I'll make sure I have the same number of comma. So what I'm having here is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to pull out orange. I just need orange to destructure orange. I don't want the rest. The rest are not important to me. Look at comma, comma, comma. This is just trying to say A for orange, empty for apple, empty for banana, and then lastly empty for sugarcane because I don't really need them. If what I want to, and if I come here now, I console.log A is going to give me orange. If what I want to destructure, what I need is just banana. I don't need orange. Banana is in the what? Third position. So this first position, I'll remove it. I have first position here. I have second position here. I have third position, which is the position of the banana. Then I'll put whatsoever variable I want. Maybe I'll just put favorite. I'll destructure it to favorite, right? So here now, I'll just come here and then print out my favorite. And then you see I have banana. So take note of this. So in order not to confuse yourself, you can actually make use of an underscore. All right. So that anybody that sees your code, you actually know that, okay, the thing did not ever allow. So if it's under programming now, an underscore, we actually tell the compiler that it should leave that place empty. But since JavaScript no want, so Moku leave them. So this is what destructuring is all about. Destructuring in array. You understand? So take note of. Okay, somebody have a question?
No, sir, it's not a question. Sugarcane is not a fruit, sir.
You say
I said sugarcane is not a fruit. Oh.
photo.
Sugarcane is not a fruit.
Okay. Thank you for the correction. Don't mind me. I think I saw Obed. Please go on, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I want to ask you this question. How can we destructure the value of function? Let's say that we had a function that does many things. Like for example, a function that formats something like time, something like hour, minutes, and seconds, and you want to return the three values. Let's say you want to use it in another function.
Yes.
Can you also destructure the returns? Like let's say you have up to three returns in your function.
Function. Yes. So far, the return is coming in form of an array, or the return is coming in form of an object. You can actually destructure it. So let's look at object destructuring. Then we'll come back to function and see how we can do that in a function. Is that okay by you?
Yeah. It's okay.
All right, no problem. So this is array destructuring. Now let's look at object destructuring. So let's say let person equal to, and then here we have name. Name, just say JS, and then class, we just say language or programming language, and then we say is loved. We say yes, that's true. That's how I know that some people don't love JavaScript, but no problem. We say is good. Me, I'll put false because JavaScript is not good to show you shege. All right. So this is an object. Now let's look at destructuring in object. Now if I want to destructure this object, just like array, I will have my let. You can use const too. It mustn't be only be let, right? And then for each position of this, I'm going to give it a variable. Let's say this name now, right? This one name. I just want what are they calling it? I just want to give it n. And then class, I just want to use C. Then is loved, I want to use IL. And then is good, I want to use IG, right? I'll just equate it to the name of my object. What is the name of my object? Person. Now, if I want to get the value of my name, what I just need to do is to pick my n, right? What are we having? Let me confirm. All right, let's see. Oh no, this one is array. Okay, so let's see. Oh. I think this is where it's coming from. I was thinking it can be changed. So unlike array, sorry, right? This thing for objects cannot actually be changed. You know, array, we changed it. We use variables. But this one, it cannot actually be changed. It has to be whatsoever that is here. That's the key itself. So for name, we have name. For class, we have class. For is loved, we have is loved. And then for is good, we have is good. So that way, if I want to get any, okay, this is a reserved word in C. So let me use lang. Because of class is a reserved word, that's why you see it will throw an error actually. So let me just change that class to lang. Sorry, not C lang, lang. So name lang is loved is good. So if I want to just get just the name, I'll just come here and then console.log name. Now, instead of me, formally, if I want to get any of the property here, we have to call the name of the object first. Then we'll now use dot, the name of whatsoever property we want to get. All right. But by destructuring it, we don't need to be doing the name of the object dot the property. What we just need to do is just to be calling the name itself. So once we call the name or the key itself, automatically it will give us the value, just like what we have here. For lang, if we want to get lang, it's just console.log lang. And then you can see what we have, programming lang or programming language. So that is the structuring in object. So the structuring in object is strictly the name. And then for this thing, what are they calling it? For array, you can actually use any variable for it. So there's another type, right, of destructuring, although that one they call it rest or so. Now, if you look at what we did here, what will now be the point of retyping what is already here? Is it not better for us to just do person.name, person.lang? You understand? So that is where this other one comes in. Now, this other one, right, you use your dot 3 times and then the name of your object. All right. So person has already been declared. Okay, I'm coming. Let me confirm. Okay, sorry. You use rest. Because rest is an operator. So you use rest. This is supposed to work. Why am I seeing error? So let me try something. Lang is not defined. Okay, let's leave this one for now. We'll still come back to it. Let's leave it for now. But that's how you use the structuring for array itself. Now for function, just like the question he asked, all right, Obed asked, it depends on what your function is returning. All right, even the material here, I think he talked about the structuring. Where is it for function? All right. So now, number one, it depends on what your function is taking in as a parameter and what the function is returning. So let's say, for instance, I have a function add. All right. So should I say, okay, calculate? Let me just say calculate. And what this function does is that it takes in two numbers. Let's first start with the return. It takes in two numbers, x and y. Of course, we are familiar with this. And then what it does is it returns. Now, what I want it to be returning is to return an array of both the addition and subtraction of the two numbers. So I'm going to be returning an array of first the addition. So I'll have x plus y. Then second of the subtraction. So I have x minus y. So what I'm actually returning from this function is an array of the addition of whichever two variables I'm putting here and the subtraction of whichsoever two variables I'm putting here. So if I call this function now, right? Let's say I console, no, not console.log. So since it's returning something, I can store whatsoever is returning inside a variable. So I'm going to create another variable called answer. Yes. And then I'll call this function calculate. On calling this function, of course, here it has two parameters. So I'm giving it two arguments. So let's say I'll give it 8 and 4 or 8 and 3. All right. So it means that what I'm expecting from this function is to give me an array of both the addition and subtraction of these two numbers. So let's console.log this, our answer variable, and see. So you can see it's giving us what? 8 plus 3, 11. 8 minus 3 is 5. So since we know it's returning an array, now how can we destructure this answer in such a way we can actually get the sum separate and the subtract, the addition separate and the subtraction separate? Is very easy. Now, this is our function we are calling. We are expecting it to give us this addition, subtraction. We can now come here, and since what is giving us is an array, we also from this place where we are expecting it to return whatsoever answer is giving us, we'll create an array. And then for this first part is the addition. So we'll call this addition. And for the second part is subtraction. So we'll call it subtraction. Right? Or add. Let's just use add and subtract so that it will be short. Add and subtract. All right. So it means here, if we want to get just the add part of our function, it's just for me to come here and then just use add. And then it will give me just the addition part of what the function is returning. If what I want is just the subtraction part, I'll just come here, because from here, what I use, the variable is subtract. I'll just come here and then call subtract. It will give me just the subtraction part of the function. So I don't know, does this answer your question, Obed?
Yes, it answers it.
Okay, good. So the same thing goes with object too. If I'm returning an object here, right? Let's say what I'm returning is not an array, is an object. Are we getting it? So here I will name this one add, and then here I'll name this one subtract. Of course, you know an object will always have type error. Calculate is not a function. Is not a function. Its return type is not iterable. Okay, I think the error is coming because of this. Yes. So now look at what I'm doing here. Let me do it this way so that let me give it gap so that you guys will understand what is going on here. So what I'm actually returning, I'm returning inside, and you know this is an object. Hope you know. So I'm returning the answer in form of addition and also subtraction. You get it? So if I want to destructure this, because ordinarily, let's say const answer equal to, of course, I'll call the function calculate, and then I'll give it two variables. Let's say this time around, let's say 7 and 3. All right. So it means that this function, it should add 7 and 3, save it here, subtract 7 and 3, save it here, and then return the object for us, which this one, this one will now be the one to collect it. So let's now console.log the answer. So what do you see here? You can see addition 10, add 10, subtract 4. So instead of doing this, I can decide to say, okay, let me just destructure it from this place. And then I'm having my add and I'm having my subtract. Remember, object is very strict. Unlike array, object is very strict. So it has to be the exact name of the key, add, subtract. So now, if I just need the add part of the function, it's just for me to come and console.log add. And if I need the subtract part of the function, it's just for me to come and subtract. So you can see the same applies to object. So is there any question? Okay. So if there's no question, we'll continue to spread operators. All right. So spread operators takes an iterable like an array or object and expand it into individual elements. When you see iterable, it simply means anything you can iterate over. Like an array is iterable. That's you can move from one element to another. Object to the same thing. You can move from one object property to another and expand it into individual elements. It is commonly used for creating copies of arrays or objects, blah, 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 and the rest. So spread operator too works with arrays, it works with object and also function argument. So we are going to look at spread operators for array. We are going to look at also the one for object, and also we are going to look at the one for function that is used for function also. So now going back to our code, let me so let's create an array. So const, let's say even number. All right, let's say 2 4 6 8 10. All right, 10. Now let's say we now have another one. Let's say const odd number equal to, let's say 2 4 no, sorry, 1 2 3. What is wrong with me today? 3 5 7. So now first of all, let's say I want to copy my even number to another variable called just number, right? How am I going to do that? Const dot I say const dot sorry, const number equal to. Now that spread they are telling you about, right? If I want to copy, let's say I have my number. My number is, let's say inside of my number, let's say I have 1 2 and 3. Then I want to now copy this even number inside of what is already my number. What I'm going to now do is just to spread this number. Now, how do I spread it? It's for me to use 3 dots, 1 2 3, and then the name of the array whose element I want to bring inside of this place. So I'll have even num. All right. So now let's check whether all the elements in this even none have been brought inside of this one. So let's console.log number. Now, has it been copied inside of number or not? You can see 2 4 6 8 10. This one originally has 1 2 3. Then we'll now use the spread operator to now take all the elements inside of our even number and bring it inside of our number. So you can now see it. So that is the use of spread operator. Do you guys get? It helps you imagine that what we have inside of our even number are like 30 elements. We just 1 2 3 name of our array. We have already copied 30 elements. So that's one of the use. Another use is that it can be used to copy arrays into a new, to combine two arrays together. Now let's say we want to combine even number and odd number together into another new array. I can just come here. I'll put const new number equal to dot 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 odd number, comma dot 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 even number. So let's console.log our new number and find out new number. Sorry, number. So you can see that we're able to copy everything from even number and odd number. We copied both into new number by using just our spread operator. So this is how the spread operator works. All right. So the same thing too with what are they calling it? With object. All right. If we have an object, so if we have an object, const, let's say person equal to name, right? So name age. So let's say Ross is 12 years old. I don't know, just is nice, true, right? Yeah, it's nice, true. Yeah. So now for this one too, we can use spread operator. Let's say for instance, we now have const, let's say general. So let's say this is a general property, right? Is, let's say, is programming language, true, sorry, and then is programming language, and then should I say what should I put? Okay, type, let me say type, strongly typed, strongly typed. Yeah. So let's say we have this. Now we have two different objects. All right. We can always make use of the structuring to bring one object into another object. Let's say we want to bring in this general object into our person, or them, since we are not using language, let me just say language. We can bring in this general object into our language object. Now, how do we do that? Now, how we do that is, one way is by, we can copy it individually if we want to. But another better way is by using the structuring, right? Or let me even copy this one inside of here. So if I'm bringing lang inside of this general, if I want to bring everything here inside of this general, it's just for me to come here and do 1, 2, 3, and then bring in my lang. So now once I console.log general, you can see is programming, like, right, was originally inside general. Type, which is strongly typed, is originally inside of it. But upon copying using spread operator, upon copying lang now, this object lang, I was now able to bring in the name property of lang, the age property of lang, and also is nice property of lang. So this is how what are they calling it? Your spread operator works with object. So any question? So just like array, you can also use it to merge. You can use it to copy. Use it to merge. You can use it to copy. All those as is. So, and again, okay, beautiful. Another very useful thing about this spread operator is that you can use it to modify. All right. Let's say now I want to modify lang, but the only thing I want to modify inside of lang is just the name of the language, because this is JavaScript class. So, and I'm seeing Rust. I want to change it to JavaScript, but this is just what I want to change. I don't want to change any other thing. What am I going to do? I can come and say, I can come here and say const lang equal to. Now, of course, I say I want to change the name. So name, I'll say JavaScript. All right. Then dot lang, because I'm not changing any other thing else. It's just lang I want to change. So what are they saying? Okay, const lang has already been declared. Okay, sorry, cannot assign to lang because it is a constant. Okay, where lang day. Let me use let. All right. So now we have this, isn't it? So let's console.log and see if our magic have worked. Why am I seeing plenty things here? Name Rust 21 is nice. What's this thing doing like this? Okay, let me just permit me to create another variable called new lang. New lang name, and then okay, so here let me print out new lang. Okay, what are we having? This is not what I'm supposed to have. Okay, let's see what we have here under the modify. Okay, updated person. Oh, I see where the problem is. I think we're supposed to bring this one first. It was supposed to come first. That's the original object, and it's supposed to come first. Aha, so you can see it now. Name is no longer Rust. In the original lang, name was Rust, but now it's no longer Rust. It's instead JavaScript. Then we still have our age from the same lang, which is 12 from here, and then it's nice from the same lang, which is true. So in modifying it, always make sure the one you are modifying, the original object itself, always make sure it comes first, because you can see formally it was second, and then we're having that issue. Look at the name did not change. So always make sure it's always the first one. So and that should do the work. All right. So any question on spread operator or operation? So you can also use it for function. Just like I said, in function, it depends on your target, whether it's an object or an array. So now, where is useful is when it comes to, there's what they call, okay, please go on.
Okay, my question is, this spread operator and the rest parameter, they kind of allied because of the three dots
Yeah.
that is being used to declare them. Is there any key difference between both of them?
Yes, very, very. There's very, in fact, I don't know. Let's leave it until you see Rust. I say Rust. Rest is immediately after spread. So let's tackle rest on its own, and then we'll now look at together the differences between them. But just like you say, they are very much alike. All right, very much alike. So now let's look at how spread works with functions. All right. So let's say now what I want to do is I want to create a function. This is why we have been creating function with the number of parameters that we know of, either 2 parameters or 3 parameters. So let's say I want to create a function that anybody can just come and bring in as many number of variable as he wants to. All right, as many as he wants to, and all of that. The thing is still going to add it for us. It's going to add everything for us. So how can we now achieve this? Or before we even do that, let's even do the normal number own. Let's not go far yet. So let's say I want to create a function that can be adding 3 numbers together. All right. So I can say function add 3 num. Let me just make it descriptive. All right. So it's going to take A, B, and then finally C. All right. And then what I'm expecting is that I should return the addition of A plus B plus C, which is this. So now normally to call this function, normally I'm going to say add 3 number, and then I'm going to supply those 3 numbers. Let's say maybe 5, 2, and let's say 3, right? So what I should be expecting is for the function to return 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. All right. Now, if I want to make use of our spread operator, remember what spread operator does? It opens up either an array or an object. So let's say I want to supply this. I don't want to give in these values as they are directly. I want to supply them from an array. So I can come here and say probably the name of my array is const num. That's the numbers I'll be adding. All right. And then I'm going to put them inside here, comma. This time around, let me use 1 and 5, right? Or 4 instead. Yes. Say 4. Here, let here be 2. All right. So now I can just come here in calling this function. What I just need to do is to spread this my number. So how do I spread it? I have 1, 2, 3 dot and then the name of my array. So what it's going to do now is going to pull off all the elements inside of this array and bring it inside this place for me. So I have what? 2, 5 plus 2. Because bringing it all inside, it means I'm calling it 5, 2, and 4. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 4, of course, will give us 11. So any question on this? Okay, go on, Obed.
Okay, it's not actually a question, but I think I have understood the spread operator now. So the operator is a kind of dividing an array of objects into individual
Thank you.
item. Why this rest is
Right.
just gathering. Yeah, that's what. Now I'm understanding my question. The question that I asked.
Hey, I love that. So from the name spread, they say spread the sheet, open the bed sheet. But when they say rest, it's more like they're telling you to okay, fold bed sheet. So spread, just scatter everything, remove it out. Rest, bring everything inside. So you come back house. So, but let's look at rest. If you look at rest, we then I think we'll understand more. All right. So now rest operator. Rest operator is also represented by 3 dots, just like spread operator, but it does the opposite of spread operator. Spread operator, having a single array with multiple elements, having a single object with multiple properties. Spread help us to remove all those elements inside of that array, all those properties inside the object. Rest helps us to pack plenty elements back inside array, plenty elements back inside. So let's look at it. It collects multiple elements and condenses them into a single array or object. So do you guys get it now? So rest parameters are commonly used in functions to capture a variable number of arguments. So let's see. I think this one is even short. Yeah, it's short. So using the rest operator in function parameters. All right. So ooh, dun, 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 dun. What should we do? Just thinking. Okay. So now we have where is this our this thing? Let's start with arrays. Okay, sorry. So now let's say we have an array, all right? Let's say num equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let's add 6 to it. All right. So let's see, starting from this one. Let's first leave this one. Let's first look at array and then object. Then before we come back to functions. All right. So now we have a variable here. Here they use colors. We are going to use numbers. And then here they are now using the rest operator. Right. So you can see first, comma, dash, 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 rest. So if we come now, this is all our number. And then we can now come and say we need 1 and 2 to be on their own, but any other one can be together. We just need just 1 and 2 to be on their own. Every other one can be together. For now, we just need 1 and 2. We can come and say, either you use let or const, anyone. We can come and say, Kai, give me 1, give me 2. Then pack the rest together. Equal to what? Of course, the name of our array, num. What is this? Oh, you see, ba? Why is it giving us error? Syntax error, unexpected token. Okay. Unexpected token as in how? Wait, let me be sure. Oh, okay. You see, ba? Mumumi. Sorry for that mistake. Actually, it's supposed to be a what are they calling it? A variable. And you remember, we can't start a variable naming using a number. Our first class, the laws of variable naming. And there I was using single 1. If I'd done this, it wouldn't have been an issue. So we need 1 and we need 2. All right. We need 1, we need 2. But every other one, that's aside from this and this one can move together. And that's why you see here we are using dash 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 rest. But let me ask a question. Must we use the name rest? Or can we use another thing and it's going to work?
You can use any other name.
Beautiful. So we can actually use any other name. It mustn't be rest, you understand? But you can as well decide to use rest for the sake of remembrance, just in case and all of that. But you can use any other name. It will still work. All right. So now we can now say console.log 1. So if we do console.log 1, it will definitely give us the first element. Because just like the way you listed it here, that's the way it's going to follow up here, orderly. If we console.log 2, it's going to give us the next element, which is this. Now, after 2, we are not telling it to pack the rest one place. So if we now decide to now check for the rest, that's why it will now give us the rest of the variable packed together, which is 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just like I said, this one can be anything. We can decide to name it Obed. And then here, we'll just come and call Obed here to give us the same thing. But just try and make sure you name it what you know you can remember in your code base. So that is rest. For you can see this rest is bringing all these ones together as one. So that is rest for your array. So for object now, right?
Sorry, sir. So this particular rest is using array destructuring first before it can actually before when we console it, it will give us what we are actually looking for.
Okay, actually is not really that way, but it's just that you can combine it with spread. Like what we are doing here now is combining spread and rest. You understand? But we can just use rest as it is. We can remove everything here and just use rest. And then in this case, it will take everything that is here and stock it up. You understand? So, but what we did initially was actually combining both spread and rest, because you can actually combine them depending on what you want to do. But just make sure that if you are combining them, all right, the rest have to be at the very end. I can't just come here now and say, and come after rest. I will not say comma, I will not say sixth. It will give me an error. And the reason why it will give me an error is that the interpreter does not know. Okay, the rest, is it that you want us to stop here or you want us to stop here? So that's why anything you are spreading, it has to be before the rest. The rest should be what comes last. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So let's look at that of object, the structuring in object. All right. So it's the same thing with what we just did now. There's no really any difference. The only difference is that this is an array. For that one is an object. Now, if we do that of object, of course, let's say let student don't suffer today, sha. One and over. So let's say name is name, and then age, let's say 40, and then level, let's say 400. Let's say is good. Let's say true. All right. So now, if we want to make use of our rest, let's say what we just need here is name. Let me use the Tunde. So let's say what we just need here is the name. We can just come and say let, and then name. Remember, object is strict when it comes to this. For array, is flexible. You can name it anything you want, but for object, is very, very strict. So if what I just want is the name of the student, I can just put name, and then of course, comma, dash, 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 rest. Just like I say, this one is not necessary. You can use anything for it. The most important thing is this 3 dash you are seeing. Equal to, what are we equating it to? Of course, the object, which is this one. We equate it to the object. Now, let's now console.log the name. What is this one telling us? Okay, did we declare anything name here? Identify rest. Okay. Let me is showing that this one we have already actually used it here. Yeah, so let me just comment it out. So you can see the name here, Tunde. By the time I now console.log the rest, right? If you check, you find out that once it got name through spread, the rest now it will just pack. Now the use of this rest, if you are using your spread, all the elements have to be available in your spread. I can't just come and say I want to spread name and leave it like this. You understand? It works. But here you see reference error. Rest is not okay. This one is not defined. So okay, it even worked too. It worked. Wow, this is awesome. I never did it to work. So it worked actually. All right. Well, let me try. Okay, this way it can work. Okay, let me see. It worked actually. It worked. Okay, this one worked. But then for this thing, what are they calling it? For this one, let me bring it back. For this one now, right? Let's say I'm destructuring. What are they calling it? By array. Let me do this. Okay. Okay, this one needs to work too. Wow, I'm surprised that these things are working. Wow, of course. Oh, it's working. It's working. Okay, no problem. So let me bring back this code. Sorry. Okay, so you can actually do this and get it individually if you want to. All right, but let's say you want to get the name and then just get the others outside or apart from the name. That's when our rest will now come in. Rest, or you can use anything of your choice. It mustn't be strictly rest, but it's just that these 3 dots must be strict. It must always be there to show that it's actually a rest operation, so that what we are going to get, where is it? Name. Okay, sorry, this should be name. That will not give us reference error. So we are getting our name through spread, and then we are taking every other thing apart from the name, every other thing present in the student object, we are taking it as 1. So that is how this works with object. Yes. Then using it for your function, right? We have where is it? Okay. So let's say we want to create a function. Now, this particular function, is going to take in as much numbers as possible. Like we don't even know the number is going to take in. And unlike other functions that take in 2 that we have done, that take in 2 and 3. This one, this time around, we don't even know. We want to do it in such a way you can put as many parameters you want. 5, 10 is going to still take it and then compute it. All right. Now we can say okay. So let's declare the function. So say function sum all. I'm going to name it sum all. And then this sum all, of course, we don't want it to take in just one. We don't want it to take in 2. We don't want it to take in as many as possible number of variables. All right. So in that case, we need to now present the parameter using our rest operator. And then we can name it maybe here. Let me just say numbers. Sorry. Okay. So let me just present it as numbers. And then from here, of course, the numbers I'm expecting, they are going to be coming from an array. So who can help us? We did some array methods on Tuesday. So among those array methods we used, is there any array method, any of them that can help us to sum as much number as we want? Is there any?
They reduce, I think.
They reduce. Okay, beautiful. So any other person?
Sir, please, what's the question?
Okay, sorry. The question says, now we want to sum what is on the screen now. We want to do it in such a way, even if it's 20 numbers you enter as your parameter, it's going to sum everything up for you and give you answer. Even if it's 2, even if it's 3, even if it's 7, like if it's 100. So I'm now asking that we did some array methods on Tuesday. So which among the method do we think is going to help us to achieve that?
You know
I'm
the
going to
reduce
take
method.
that push or concat.
Okay. So now somebody gave us an answer. He said the reduce method, which to me I feel is perfect in this case. All right. We can also make use of our iteration method. What's happening to my screen? Are you guys seeing my screen? Okay. I saw that the thing disappeared here on my phone. That was why. Okay. So now we can use reduce. We can also use for off method. We can use for off too. You understand? We can use reduce. So which one should we use?
Let's use for off.
For all right.
Reduce is direct. Let's use for off so that you see how it works.
Okay. So now what we are going to do here, since what we are expecting here should be an array of numbers, and remember, for of can be used to iterate through an array. So we can now, first of all, we can set in a value called sum and initialize it to 0. All right. And then we can now say, we can now iterate now. We can now say for, right, let n of numbers. What should it do? Let n of numbers in such a way, we now say sum will now be plus equal to n. So who can explain to us what did I just do here now? That's line 5, line 4, 5, and 6. Who can help us? Like just Help us explain.
Okay, sir. What we just did here is we already declared a variable sum, add up and
Yeah.
set it to initial value of 0. So the for loop will actually loop through the rest parameter we impute at the function. What we doing is if it's the first loop, let's assume we impute 1 at the first value, it will add 1 to 0. Then if we move on to the next value, let's say it's 2, it will add 2 to the sum again. If it's root to 3, it will also add 3 to the sum again.
Beautiful. So any other person? All right. Thank you, Obed. So that's just what is happening. So I initialized a variable here called sum and gave it value of 0. And then what I'm doing here is that I'm going through each and every element of our rest parameter. Of course, I told you that the rest parameter here is definitely going to be an array. So this one will be going one after another, each of the elements. And as he's going through the elements, is adding. What I'm doing here, I think we have done it before, is the same thing as saying sum equal to sum plus n. Adding n to the original value of sum, and then we are now restoring that value back inside sum. So this is actually the short form of doing it. All right. And then at the end of everything, that's at the end of this loop, at the end of going over all the elements, we want it to return the sum for us. So now let's check if let's check if our function is going to work. So of course we have to call the function. All right. So now let's first of all give it 2 values. So you see, by not giving it any value, you see it's returning the original value of sum for us. That's why you see here we're having 0. Now let's start adding numbers. 2. Something is happening. So who can tell us? Why are we having something like this? Why are we having this?
The problem is you're adding it inside an array. You need just to pass it as a normal parameter.
Okay.
Because right now you just see it as one value. That's why.
Okay. That's good. So of course, nothing, you have 0. Now you can see, okay, when I started the array, you can see what is happening. It was giving us a string, right? But when I removed the array and it was empty, it was giving us the original value of sum, which here is what? Number 0. So now let's start by adding numbers. So we have 2. 2 plus 3, 5. 5 plus 8, 13. 7, 3, 5, 6, 9, 7, 6. So you can go on and on and on. It will just keep on adding and adding and adding and adding. So that is where, because you can see, obviously here, we do not state that we are going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. We do not say that. But this one will now help us in such a way. If we want to add 100 numbers, what we just need to do is to come and be calling it here in this our function call, just to be adding it in this our function call, and then that's it. So any question? So I want you to go and try this same thing we did, but this time around use the reduce method. Don't use this iteration method for it. Try and use that reduce method for it. So try it on your own and see. So that's your rest operator for objects, for array, and also for your function parameter. All right. So modules. Now, modules in JavaScript. Should we do modules or should we move to? I'm looking at the time, or we should move to classes so that we'll just round up with classes, and then another day we'll come back for modules. Okay, what's going to happen? All right, we are going to skip modules. The reason why I say we will skip modules is that we need to make use of a VS Code. I can't teach you modules on this, and that VS Code now means we have to set it up. Because modules is more like how you can interact between two or more JavaScript files altogether. So that's the ability. What gives you that ability is actually modules. So because of time, permit me to leave it this. We'll still do it. I think the project will work on Saturday. We are going to implement this module. So we'll do more of it because we'll be coding from different files and not just a single file. All right. So for now, let's leave this module and import, because when you have module, you have import. And then let's look at classes. Very important. Now, when you talk about a class, you know, we have been talking about object. All right. When you talk about a class, I know somebody like Fatima now, that's if she's on the call. Is she on the call? Okay, yeah, she's on the call. Somebody like Tebat, somebody like Aisha, they'll be like, no, 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 that guy is not my class. You understand? That kind of thing. Or Jethro will say, forget those boys. Those boys no be my class. Or if I go say, those guys. That means, it means when you're talking about class, it's more like from classification. More like there is a particular requirement for that classification. So you now call it class. That's why you say, which class you did? Say just 3. There's a requirement for just 3. So you are among, or you are within, or you meet the requirement. So classes too work with objects. Because if you look at who are the people in your class, they are human beings. They have eyes, just like you. All of them have mouth, all of them have nose. You understand? So class now is more like a blueprint for something that is in the real life world. So let's look at it. It's okay. Classes are a blueprint for creating objects that encapsulate data and behavior. Introduced in ES6. Now, when you talk of data, encapsulation of data, data now includes your methods. We all know what methods are. And also include your, what's the other thing after methods? In objects, you know, we talked about 2 things. Methods being the, when you have a variable with value of function, you know, we say we call it method. Okay, what of the other one? What do we call the other one? Object properties, Abi.
Yeah,
So now, so this data they are talking about is both that object property. That object property, that is mostly the data. There can be other things too, but majorly. Then behavior is that method. For instance, every animal makes a sound, but every animal has its own unique sound. You can't be hearing a dog bark. Once you hear bark, you know it's a dog. So you going to check, you can't go and check and see a cat barking. It's not possible. You understand? So that is actually class animal, object dog, class animal, object cat. Of course, you know, scientists too say we are animals too. They say we are higher animals according to them. So no problem. So cat animal. But if you look at a dog, the sound of a dog is different. The way a dog walks is different. Bird is also an animal. Bird whistles. Dog is an animal. Dog has 4 legs. Bird is an animal. Bird has 2 legs. Fish is an animal. Fish does not even have a leg. Although penguin, fish is like penguin has leg. Although, yeah, obviously. But then, okay, penguin is a bird actually, not a fish. It's a bird. So, but fish don't have a bird. Instead, they have what they call gills. All right. So, so that's how class works. So we'll still look at the practical aspect though. So introduced in ES6, classes bring a object-oriented approach to JavaScript, making it easier to structure code, especially in complex application. So I know some of you might have been hearing of OOP. In Java, yeah, OOP. In this language, Python, yeah, OOP. So it's called object-oriented programming. So it's a kind of programming that takes cognizance of the real world scenario and try to build it in that manner using that blueprint. You understand? Because if you look at how the world works, almost everything works with a blueprint. You can't go and buy a phone and say the phone does not have screen, unless it's a telephone you went and bought. Eh? If you buy a phone, at least say, I buy Android. Say you get screen, say no. How? You understand? It must have a screen. Is your Android na screen touch? Yes. At least to a larger extent, it must have a screenshot touch. Right? Can he browse? To a larger extent, he should be able to browse. Does he have camera? To a larger extent, he should have camera and all of that. So take note of that. For instance, we human beings, we have head, we have eye, we have nose, and we have mouth. So that is the data. Class, animal or human. Data, eye, nose, mouth. Behavior, we can nod using our head. Some people can even use their head to fight. Our mouth, we can talk with our mouth. That's behavior. We breathe with our nose. That's a behavior. You understand? So although we'll still come to that. So classes are useful because they encapsulate functionality in a clear and reusable way. So we'll look at that. Encapsulate simply means to like cover. All right. So allowing one class to inherit properties, methods from another. We'll look at inheritance too. And then organize code better, especially in larger applications. We'll look at that too. So now, class syntax. All right. Class syntax. So the basic, one of the most important things you take note of while creating a class syntax are these three things. You take note of the class name, the class, this thing itself. You can see it, class. And then the name of the class, just like how your function too, you have function, then name of the function. If you want to declare a class too, you have class, then name of the class. Then inside a class, although it's not always necessary to have a constructor inside your class, but it's always possible. And then you can have a constructor method. Now, a constructor method, you can only find one single constructor inside of any class. You can have more than one constructor. And that constructor is meant to initialize your object. We'll still all this story. We'll still look at it practical. Yeah, don't worry. Methods. We talked about data and behavior. So methods is what define the behavior of your object. And then properties is what holds, that's more like the data for each of the instance. Because every instance, we have its own properties. We'll still look at all these jargons, and just say, we'll go see them. No fear. So constructor, look at what they say, a special method that gets called when you create a new instance of the class using the new keyword. Methods, functions within the class definition, like greet in this example. So let's look at typically a class. Now, I want this to be as practical as possible. All right. But when it comes to OOP, at first, people used to have some kind of shaking. So now, let's say we want to create a blueprint. Now, what does a blueprint means? What does this thing prototype means? A blueprint simply means is something that others can look at and then replicate without having much of an issue or problem. So, we want to create a blueprint for students, all right, for the object student. Now, we can say, first of all, class. The class belongs to what? Student. And remember, for your class name, it should always start with capital letter. That does not mean if you use small letter, it will not work. It will work, but it's just that it should always start with capital letter. It's more like recommended. You understand? Now, we have a class, our class keyword, and the name of our class, student. Now, just like I said, it's not always necessary to have your constructor. So as it is like this, we have created a class. So this one when they see. We don't create class with this. So this is how you create a class. The class keyword, the name of your class, and then this is your curly bracket. Now, let's now check. There's something they call instance. You know, when we're looking at the material, it was talking about the instance of a class. If you look at it here, it's a special method that gets called when you create a new instance of the class. So, going back to our code, to create the new instance of a class is const, you create a variable. This one, mind you, is different from this. This capital letter. It starts from capital letter. This one, all is small letter. And then you call the name of your class. Student. Is it? I think it's this one. Class construct. Okay, sorry. New. They say the word new. I forgot it. Good. So this is how you create a new instance of your class. You always use the word new, then the name of your class. So if I come and I console.log now, console.log student, that's this time around this, right? Now you can see it's giving me my class here. Are you seeing it? So this is how you create a class, and this is how you create the instance of a class. So instance of a class, creating a class. So always take note of these two. So any question? Any question? All right, no question. So now let's create a
So
class.
the instance.
Yes,
So now it's still the class that you
yes,
declared, but you are using the new to indicate
yes,
that is an instance of the class.
exactly. So instance, right, simply is just like if I want to build an estate, most especially in Abuja, you find out that, or other places, you find out that other places, if they are building estate, that particular area, all the buildings will look the same. Although they might have maybe different paints, different roofing sheets, but majority of the time, the structure of the building, all of them is going to be the same. So now what is happening is that they will call an architect that will draw how the houses in the estate should look like.
A town
So the
planner,
drawing,
sir. A town planner, sir.
okay, sorry, you know, me,
Yes,
I don't know. Thank you. So,
because it's my
so
profession.
okay, wow. You see, we don't program something, we jump enter J2 profession. Programming language they touch everywhere. All right, thank you for that correction. So you find out that the person will just draw just a single, right, drawing, and he might draw the structure of the whole this thing, but then the way the building should look like, the person doing the whole thing on the whole software, is it AutoCAD or the other one they call, I've even forgotten the one they do, is it that they do in 3 dimension? So you will just create just how the building one should look like. Now anybody coming to build in that or on that estate or in that estate, you will find out that he will follow the same building pattern. You understand? So our class is like that blueprint, that drawing. Why instance of our class is like the main thing now. So okay, now we want put the main work, the building, and now we want build them. This one, okay, you don't show us how the building supposed dey, how the thing dey structured. So now the structure we want follow, make our own. So instance, we want make our own using structure where you don't give us. Class, now me be the structure. Instance, now me be the one where they want make with the structure. So that is the difference between the two. And that's why you see for your instance, you always use the word new. You understand? So now for students, remember we talked about constructor function, and we say constructor is the first thing that is being called when this thing is initialized. Do you get it? So now in a situation where, let's say we just have console.log, that may be students, abi. In a situation where we just have something like this, where is it? So what is this one saying here? Unexpected token. How? Where? 3 9. Okay, this 3 and then 9. Is it this? Is it supposed to? It's not supposed to now. Okay, don't mind it. Anyways, for now, let's leave it. So we talked about construction function being the first thing that is being called, all right, when we create an instance of a class. So we'll declare a constructor function, constructor, all right, as you can see it here. As you can see it here, just the name. You don't need to put function, constructor, no. But just indicating constructor, JavaScript will understand where it's coming from. Beautiful. So just constructor. And then, of course, the constructor, as you can see here, you see that it can take in parameters, just like the ordinary function. So depending on that parameter now is what, if you are calling your class, if you are creating a new instance, what you'll be passing into it. So whatsoever is here is what you'll be passing into here. So if we are creating a student, we need the student name, we need his age, and we need his email. Now, of course, this is a function. Now, let me ask a question. Why are we saying this dot name equal to name? This dot age equal to age. This dot email equal to email. So by using the this keyword, what are we trying to do? Somebody should help me.
Okay,
Okay,
by using the this keyword, I think we are trying to refer to the class object.
beautiful. So you remember when we were talking about objects, when we started looking at objects, where we now checked, we are trying to call a property of the object from within the object, and then by calling the property, is going to pick something from outside. Until when we now came and now use this. So, and we now made the conclusion that, okay, the this keyword, what it does, it will help you bind whatsoever thing that's inside of your object. No, hope you know this class here is an object. Look at it. That's our object, Anna. That's it. You know, it's an object. So what we are trying to do here is this name we are passing to our constructor. We are telling it to bind it to the instance of that object. So we are telling that whatsoever object we are creating, that we are providing the name, the age, the email, make that name part of the object, make that age part of the object, make that email part of the object. So that is what is happening here. This keyword, we're actually binding it. So this dot name, we are saying, okay, this name, we are binding you to this object. This age, we are binding you to this one. Email, we are binding you. So always take note of this in your constructor function. All right. So please take note of this. Very, very important. Right? Okay. So let's continue. Now, from here, we want to create a new instance of our student. Of course, from our constructor function, you should know that anything that is in the parameter of our constructor function, in creating the instance of that class, we have to also feed it all those things. So we have to feed it name, feed it age, and feed it email. So for name now, we can say Obed. For age now, we can say 78. For email now, we can say Obed at st dot, of course, it will be in form of a string. So Obed dash at not dash st dot fitech.com. All right. So now, what I'm doing here, I'm printing this student to check if I've been able to create the instance of this object. Now look at it. By printing it out, the instance, because the instance here is student. By printing it out, look at name, Obed, age, 78, email, Look at his email address here. Jan, 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 jan. Jan, 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 jan. Any question? Hmm.
So this new student, sir,
Yes,
it's like
yes,
should I use the word evoke? Like he's trying to call what is on the in the class, like
okay,
the
yes,
object in the class, and bringing it back to the one we are trying to build now from the
beautiful,
constructor now.
good. So
Okay.
it's more like I've created a template for my object. Here, I'm now creating a new object with that same template. Now, what does the template tells me? From the constructor, the template tells me that you need a name, you need a age, and you need an email. And then by creating using the template, I need to supply it with those three things: name, age, and email. And once I do that, that thing, that creation, which is called the instance, an instance of the class, is going to now create for me an object, which in this case, the object name is student, because I'm actually storing it inside student. So by console login student now, you see, I now have my new object. Object of what? Student. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, Rufai, go on.
Okay, sir. Is it that for that that instance, is it that is recognizing the name, age, and email automatically, or we must arrange it accordingly to the name and age? Like, for example, if we put age before that name, will it come
Name.
back?
Okay, let's
Do you,
let's try.
do you-
Let's try it and see. All right. Okay. So let's try it and see. You know me, I love trying something. It won't work, oh, but let's try it. Because it might still end up working. so so do you see what happened? So what happened? Look at our code now. Now that we have changed it. What are you seeing?
okay, that means it's following accordingly. Like
Beautiful.
the way we arrange it in the constructor, I mean, that's the way we must arrange it also in the this thing.
Exactly. You understand? So it actually follows the arrangement of the constructor. Obed, are you raising up your hand or is a mistake? Okay, okay. I think it's a mistake. All right. So this is it. Now let's say we want to create another object. We don't need to remember when we're creating objects, when we're dealing with objects strictly, if we are to create another object, student, we have to come and do the same thing. But if we are creating another new student, what we just need to do is come again, const student. We can name this one student one. Since we have student one, is student we have equal to. We now call the keyword new and the name of our class student. And then inside we'll supply it with these three parameters. Name, of course, we'll give this one. We'll say Fatima. All right. Age, let's say 96. And then email, we'll say Fatima at fitech.com. All right. So to be sure that we have created this our student, we'll just console.log. Let me copy and paste. So student one. So you can see we now have name Fatima, age 96, email, that's the email address of Fatima. So are we getting it? Beautiful. Now remember we talked about what are they calling it? We talked about constructor. So you see how to make use of constructor. Then next, we'll now talk about methods. All right. So there are actually different methods. Inheritance. Me ma jump. What kind jump be this? Ha. So it is well low. Anyways, let's first deal with this one. Super, no, not now. Let's deal with this one. What are they calling itself? Methods. Then we'll come to this getter and seeker. So for methods now, remember, I told you methods are functions. They define behavior. All right. So now let's say we want to define a behavior for this student. And what will now be the behavior? Let's say that's after your constructor. Now say the behavior we want to define is that we want to say that, okay, well, the behavior will be speak. You understand? So now remember, I say behavior are functions. So we say speak. And this speak, we say what? It will console.log. My name is. Okay, I'll still ask you people question. Just pay attention. Look at what I'm doing very closely. My name is name. And I am this old. Full stop. So now I have defined a function inside of our class, and then I've called this function speak. Right? Now, let's say I want to call this function for Obed. Now, what is Obed? Obed is what? Obed is student. That of Obed is student, right? So to call this behavior, this function, to call it for Obed is going to be the instance of Obed. What is the instance of Obed? Student dot, what is the name of the behavior? Speak. So why are we having this error? Age is not defined. But I
No,
think,
we
but I think,
didn't use this keyword.
very good. Very good. So are you seeing it? We did not use this keyword. So now let's try and now include this keyword for both our name and age and see what is going to happen. So did it work or not? So now let's check. Let's check this one. Do we even need to console log it? I don't think we need to console log it. Okay, no problem. Let's console log. Look at it. I know that we don't need to console log it actually. So you can see here when we say student dot speak, because already inside the speak we are console logging. So anything that should call speak, it should trigger this console.log. So when we just call it, we say, okay, where is Obed? Obed is student. Okay, Obed dot speak is more like we are telling it behave. And the behavior you should exhibit is the speak behavior. And here in the behavior of speak, the exhibition is that he should tell us his name and his age. So here, immediately we now call speak on Obed. You see, he says, my name is what? Obed. And I am what? 78. Sorry, I know RDS. Try. 78 years old, right? And I am 78 years old. Now, if we want Fatima to speak like Obed, it's just for us to come here and then we'll call, what is that of Fatima? The instance of Fatima is student one. So we'll just say student one dot speak. And then, of course, Fatima. My name is Fatima and I am 96 years old. So any question? Okay. So Rufa is good. Jetro, any question? Hey, it is deep
No
like
question, boy. If you like say we don't cover plenty, you
we
can.
cover plenty actually. This thing is much. This particular one. Una see say una know say we never even do modules, abi. I can skip them. Even the classes, we are not actually done. We still have inheritance, we still have super getters and setters. So those ones, they are not, it's not much of an issue, but very important too. So static methods too. That one too is very important. So private too, private fields. Yeah. So what's here do DAO on Saturday? So we are meeting on Saturday, right?
Sir, are we meeting to build project or we are meeting to complete this task? Because this slide, is still there.
It's
For
still
me,
day.
I'm still.
Okay, actually, we are meeting to build project, but I will make sure the project we are building incorporates everything inside of this slide. So that way we'll be able to learn at the same time build the project. So I think that's the only way we can actually meet up. I'll make sure everything like modules, it implements classes. So that way we'll look at it in a, even all these REST array method. I'll make sure at least the project covers it. And then I'll make sure the project is not very complex, just something basic, so that at least we'll be able to understand it. Everybody will be able to carry everybody along. All right. So I think it's time already. Yeah, it's time already. So start.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Gideon.
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Gideon,
yes,
can you hear me?
yes. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for the class. It was very, very educative. So, guys, give Mr. Gideon here a thumbs up. Hope you like this your mentor. This your mentor here very, very well. Thumbs up emoji. Yeah, your mentor here is cool. I wonder where Mr. Gideon was. That was by learning how to code. Mr. Gideon, maybe say you go hide.
This have they learned that time now.
I'm telling you. That all this small time with Javascript don't make me I call about go mad say, but your class was very, very what educative. Thumbs up. So guys, according to what I said around before the class started, so just send forth a representative on Saturday. Don't know what is really happening with the boot camp, or you guys can also attend the boot camp too, so can begin a project on it. Mr. Gideon is set for you guys. It's coming with full word first on Saturday, so please don't miss that class on Saturday. And finally, yeah, just enjoy the rest of your day. That's all from my own end here.
All right, all right. So thank you so much, Ebube. So the time on Saturday will be communicated before then, right?
Yeah, definitely. It will drop on the announcement Discord channel.
Okay. This one I'm seeing somebody say ALX is not a joke. Actually, it's ALX that helped me. They helped me build a very solid foundation in programming. All right.
Mr. Gideon, it's not just only you. Even me too. I'm also an by ALS SC was graduate. So we know
Wow.
but we know the drill. So don't worry.
Honestly, the dream will be small thing. Okay, Jetro,
ALS gave me sleepless night.
honestly. Jetro, you're raising up your hand.
Yeah, mine is a concern about the resources. I know Mr. Ibube is doing a great work. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually commendable, but still there are some resources that we do not have. Basically, I'm speaking like this because we actually need these resources to leverage on them for our learning. And then
Yeah.
it is more easier to leverage on them because we are in the class and it is very practical
Yeah.
when you are doing it. So whenever you go back to the resources and then watch, you would actually understand more. The resources in particular is the videos, and then sometimes if maybe you code on VS Code, the
Yes.
repository link should be dropped so that we can still follow up the codes and
Okay.
then
Okay.
see. Yeah.
Don't mind me. That's a mistake from my own end. Actually, I'm supposed to be pushing each code to the repository, all right? But it always escapes my mind. Hey, God. It is well.
Okay,
Let me.
okay, sorry, Mr. Gideon. Sorry, Mr. Jetlo. Let me shed some light on that. So the videos of the classes are being edited before posted to the YouTube board. the title was channel. So it's just that time frame. So you guys just like kind of bear with us. We'll try to what fast track the process. So about the resources of the class today, I'll be dropping it in the next 10 minutes on the Discord channel under the resource channel. So you get it from there. But the recording will be dropped tomorrow once the guy is done with what editing. Is that fine, Mr. Jethro? Okay,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you
cool.
very much.
It's cool. Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
So please, guys, get set on Saturday. Everybody who participates in the project, like I'll call every single name I see. I say, you, what should we do here? So, and please, just like I said, there's no stupid question. The only stupid question is the one that nobody have asked. Because why you ask it is not a stupid question. We are all learning. Even I myself am still learning. And that's why I make the class to be as live as possible. I don't prepare anything apart from the material before coming to class. So that you don't say, this guy don't go cram code. That's why I see sometimes I still make one or two mistakes. So it's normal. I want you people to have that feeling that it's normal to make mistakes as a programmer. We don't know it all. You understand? The most important thing is to have a very solid foundation, which is what we're actually looking forward to. All right. So thank you for your time and make sure you have a lovely day and rest very well. That's how today. All of us, fire go to come off our head. In fact,
I will call with what fire extinguisher.
exactly. All right. So have a great day, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
and you too, Mr. Gideon. Take care. Bye
All
for
right.
now, guys.
Bye.